Welcome back to another episode of Short Shifts. We got 10 minutes on the clock with my friend Jeffrey J. Who's Zoolander Lavecchio, and he has no idea the topic that we have for him here today. But Vechs, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's get it. Hit me.
This one's up your wheelhouse.
Mm.
Okay. Let's talk some penalty kill forecheck today. Let's talk some
Oh,
PK forecheck. You were a PK wizard back in the day, big time role of yours at every level that you played. That big stick, that long reach, the freaking
big stick.
speed, most importantly, hockey sense. Here we go, baby.
with the last, you know what though? Actually, with penalty killing, I did outthink power play players on penalty kill though. So
There you go. There you go.
So what's the question?
So I'm going to leave the floor to you here, and we'll keep this really generic at first, and we'll take it wherever you want to go with it. But as it relates to the penalty kill and the PK forecheck getting up the ice, what are some things that are important to you? What are some things that worked when you were a player? And maybe some systems, maybe some structure, maybe some habits that some coaches taught you that allowed you to have success on the PK forecheck, not allowing the other team to get inside the zone, and minimizing some in zone time there. So what is big for you on the PK forecheck?
I mean, if you can get down there and pressure, like give them pressure, it's so much easier, especially now in today's world where like setting up has been and like creating like actual plays, like kind of like football, like, and these unbelievably genius plays where you come up and there's a crisscross and there's a drop, then the guy's sprinting up and there's a really long drop. So now the other team is completely stopped flat-footed. So like if you let teams set up, especially at the higher levels, like they're going to have a lot more opportunities to expose you just because like you're going to run into like whatever their system is. They got 5 players, you got 4. So I think if you can get out of the gate hot and get pressure and try to get to them before they get behind the net to set up, that's huge. I think it's massive. And if you can get, all 4 guys up, something I think like a lot of teams that are way easier to penalty kill, or like if you're on the power play, because I played power play in Europe. I didn't play in pro, but I didn't play power play in the AHL. I had 15 one year, not a big deal, all even strength and shorties. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I think that when all 4 players get up together, like all as far up as we can, and close that gap, it's so much harder when the penalty killers are together on that forecheck versus when it's like one guy and then there's space, because when there's a bunch of space, you're creating those east-west lanes to make a bunch of passes. And when the power play goes east-west on you, you're hooped because then everybody's shifting over. Then you create even more lanes. So I think first guy, if you can get up and go, get out of the gate and chase them down as much as you can. Try and cause as much havoc as you can. And the other 3 guys, whatever you're running, whether it's, like a 1-1-2 or a 1-3 or like whatever you're running, like get up there and close that gap as much as you can, because then you're also moving back with speed versus standing still. I was really good on the PK forecheck as F1, but honestly,
Why were you so good as F1?
Stick pressure, speed, relentlessness. I wouldn't curl. I would stop and start. Like if, a guy like kind of shimmied me, like a lot of guys would take like a big loop, especially when they're younger, like I would hit the brakes because I was fast and I would just take off like a bat out of hell and sprint back. Also, if you get beat, sprint back through the middle of the ice. Don't chase the guy if he's wide. Sprint back to the middle, because he's not going to score from the boards if he gets in the zone. But as he gets in the zone, it's their job to attack the middle of the ice because you're going to be closer to the net, which means you have a higher percentage of scoring. So sprint back through the middle. And like if you're on the left side of the ice, you want to sprint back to the post that's closest to you through the middle of the ice, because that's where they're going to be going. So that's really important. Stick pressure, speed. And but I sucked as a second guy. I would get flat-footed too much. Maybe I wasn't a great backwards skater. I don't know. But the first, I would just always go F1. Like, no.
Whoever you were out there with.
You chill.
Hey,
well,
get
everybody
back
just
there.
knew.
I'm going.
Everybody just knew. Vechs, go. Vechs, just go F1. All right.
One thing we would teach our guys is just to count. Count how many guys are going back into the zone on an icing. And if they were bringing all 5 guys back, all 4 guys on the PK are getting right up and gapped up and coming back with speed. Now, if they're stretching a guy or if they're stretching 2 guys, then you have to be a little bit more cognizant of leaving a couple guys or one guy back a little bit so you're not giving up a breakaway pass. But just kind of a rule of thumb is just, hey, like let's count how many people are in front of us. And if all 5 of them are in front of us, then let's all gap up together and come back with speed. And so we're not flat-footed at the blue line. I think that's a really good rule of thumb.
Yeah, that always used to hoop me if I was second guy, the flat-footed thing. So as I got older and older, then like the further I realized, the further I gap up, I can move back faster with them, kind of matching their speed. So that's really important. So as that second guy, the second F2, usually you're going to be on the outside, or you're going to be on the outside and then cutting across as one forechecker pushes them this way. They're going to move the puck back and go across. You're going to be going the other way. But basically, the big thing is like keep your feet moving. If you get flat-footed on the PK, you're gonna get burned. And
stick and skate always back through the middle when the puck goes away from you. Always. Because what you
first move, stick.
Yeah,
you get beat. It's not turn and skate. I would always go stick, lead, and then skate with the stick in front of me, because I can't tell you, and how many times guys had just hit your stick with a pass because you weren't there, and then you just quickly flipped your stick around, and you break up a pass.
Yeah, for sure. I always felt when I got into youth hockey, and even like when I was a college coach watching youth hockey, there were so many times where like F1 was aggressive and then F2 would kind of be in no man's land. And there would always be, because there was so much space in between F1 and F2, that F1 would go, they'd make one pass from the middle to the side, and then it was just cross ice. And then you're hooped every time. I've always been a big believer in, and there's a lot of different ways you can skin the cat now. And obviously things are changing. And one thing on the power play that's really changed how people have had to PK forecheck is the drop. The drop back, you get up and then you drop it back. And then all of a sudden we have to regap and get up and then come back. So you're not so flat footed, which can be tough. It could be tough, but I've always been a huge believer on building a wall at the blue line. Do not let them get a clean entry, and be aggressive as you can at the blue line. And this is coming from almost a fact of just like me being a power play player. And I hated when the other team stepped up at the blue line and were really hard at that. And they forced you to dump the puck. Right. And so that's why it's even more important, again, to make sure that when the puck goes away from you, particularly as F1, like we're always back through the middle, just to make sure we're an extra fail safe if we do end up getting beat at the blue line. But always been a big fan of forming that wall on the blue line. I've done a few different little things on that recently. Like Carolina scored 2 goals in like 2 different games on just building that wall. And what they do, and what a lot of teams are doing now, is it's almost like, it's not like a 1-3, it's almost like a 3-1, where you're building that wall at the blue line, and then the one defender is back and in the middle, and he's the retriever of pucks. So if you're doing your job with the first 3 guys and you're forcing the other team to dump the puck in, now that person is cheating on that dump. And now we can go back to have a little bit more time and space, because the PK forecheck isn't just the forecheck. The PK forecheck is the forecheck into the breakout. And you have to have a plan of a breakout when certain things happen. So for that guy that's going back to be the retriever, that defenseman in that 3-1 kind of situation, if it's a rim, then you're the support. It's a rim all the way across. One of the people on the blue line is going to have to get it, bump it back to you, and then you can ice it. If it's a chip one way or the other, then you're the person that's going to go retrieve the puck, and you're going to be able to make that next play. And again, have a plan on where those other 3 guys are going, after that puck is chipped. So again, it's not just forcing them to dump it. It's after you force them to dump it, what are you going to do with the puck? I think that's really important to talk about too.
I love that. We got 1 minute left here. And I think a big thing on that too is goalies. Talk to the guys as they're coming back. If they dump it in, goalies, you are the player's eyes. That D-man or whoever is back there is skating back. He knows he has a ton of pressure. Goalies, you should be screaming, like on your back, hard up the middle, or off the glass, high up the glass. He's coming. Like, let him know, because it's just going to make him a better player.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things to talk about, is we only have about 30 seconds here left, is there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat. 1-3, 1-1-2. What teams are doing a lot now is they're doing like a box. It's almost like a 2-2, because what you're seeing on the power play breakout, as they get it, you need one player that's going to take the speed, and one player that's going to take the kick out, right? So the one guy's coming up hard. They got another guy that's kind of standing at the blue line. Who's taking the guy that's going hard? Who's taking the guy that's at the blue line? But habits, man. Habits are really, really important as we're going through this. There we go. We are done.
Share the show.